as I have gone on in my composition career and answered different versions of this question, I realized that I really started, like, heavy quotations, composing when I was a little kid, and I was taking piano lessons. But the thing is, I didn't know it was composing at the time. I just thought, oh, I'm making some stuff up because I did not want to practice piano. And of course, when your parents tell you you have to go practice, I'm like, no, I'm not going to go do that. So I discovered that if I make up a little song, if I make up a little piece, instead of practicing the stuff I was assigned, I could razzle dazzle my teacher and then spend enough time razzle dazzling that we would
Mm,
never get to the thing I was supposed to practice. So
yeah.
I did a lot of that, which was not ideal because I'm a terrible pianist now.
You just summed up why I composed to begin with as well. It was like I hated practicing, and I just wanted to.
Razzle dazzle.
I
It's
wanted to,
fun.
yeah, as you say, razzle dazzle. That was more important to me than
Yeah.
being a well-rounded musician, right?
Yeah. Like, you didn't know, you're not going to know when you're like 8 that it could potentially become an entire career. So,
Yeah.
haha, razzle dazzle, everybody. Psych. It's an aversion tactic. It's not.
So that was like the seed that was planted. When did you consciously, I guess, know that you were composing? Did you do that, I don't know, when you got into like high school or
Mm,
college?
it was the end of my first master's, actually. So I didn't really realize that people were career composers until I got to school, Truman State University, go Bulldogs. And we had a composition department. It wasn't very big. It wasn't a very big school to begin with. It's in Kirksville, Missouri, which you could roll a rock and hit Iowa. It's a very
Mm,
small town, very small, incredible school. And it was a teacher's college to begin with. So I went to Truman to study towards becoming a band director or just a music teacher. So I studied saxophone in my undergrad and then went immediately into the education master's program. And I took quite a few of the heavy quotes, the electives that you can take as a
yeah.
master's, just the bonus classes. And one of them was Introduction to Composition. And I thought, oh, this will be super fun because I had done a couple of arrangements of other songs for, I had a vocal trio in my sorority SAI, Sigma Alpha Iota, and did a couple arrangements for that. I did a couple arrangements for my saxophone quartet, just pop songs and other stuff. But then I took this intro to composition class and got to write some of my own stuff. I loved it so much, but I still at that point hadn't considered being a composer by career. That was just, I really enjoyed taking this class. So during one of my summer semesters, I had finished my coursework at Truman. I had a summer semester where I was doing just a couple more classes before I went and did my teaching residency. And the department did its first interdisciplinary research grant, which was the composition department and the theater department wanted to do a research project where they would get funding from the school and wanted to audition composers and librettists from the theater department and then put them together over the summer semester, which is about 8 weeks, and write a musical. This was the first time it had ever happened, so it was kind of the trial run. And my teacher of the intro to composition class, who was Dr. Charles Gran, one of the composition professors there, encouraged me to apply. And I was already there taking summer classes. I also couldn't afford at the time to live there over the summer. And it was like $2,000 or something. I'm like, that's enough money for me to live over the entire summer. So,
Yeah.
it would be a bonus project, but I might as well throw my hat in the ring. I don't know if I'm going to get it because I'm up against all of the composition students, but why not? So I did the audition and I got it. And I was super excited about this because I got to meet some of the theater people. The person I was partnered with, Josh Reinhardt, was also, we hit it off and we were really good collaborative partners. And so at the time, I didn't realize that a 90-minute musical in 8 weeks was a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah.
It is a lot.
That's intense.
Yeah. And I was also taking classes, like 3 or 4 master's classes at the time. I loved it so much. And it wasn't until after that one of my teachers at the time was my saxophone teacher was like, did you know you can do this as a career? People still do this. And at that point, I had actually been handed Julie Wolfe's Steel Hammer, and I hadn't really listened to any contemporary composers outside of my universities until that point. And so my knowledge of contemporary music outside of my local area was very, very limited. And then after just getting basically the permission from someone like, you can do this, it opened this whole world of, wow, there's a lot of people doing this right now. And then being handed Steel Hammer, which I have memorized now. I'm like,
oh,
put
it's
me
so
in,
good.
coach. It's amazing. I actually listened to it the other day. I was like, I haven't listened to this in a long time. And I'm just hammer, 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 hammer. All of it's memorized. Julie, put me in. I'm ready. But hearing that was the first time I'd ever heard a piece that, wow, this is very song-like, and it sounds like there's folk music. It sounds like there's rock music involved. So
was that also the first time you encountered music by a woman? Or had you before then?
I think that might have been, no, that's not entirely true. I play handbells. My mother is a professional English handbell musician. She's been playing since she was 10 and is in a professional choir called Resound in Kansas City. And they play all kinds of music by living composers. The handbell world, it's mostly contemporary-ish stuff because handbell music is, that it does go quite far back in time, but there's now these increasingly large choirs, and you have to write new music for that.
Yeah.
So I actually had played. Cynthia Dobrinski is a prolific handbell composer, and there's actually quite a few, like Kevin McChesney, Don Allred, and I met a couple of them growing up, but they're very, very niche and very specific to English handbells and all of the other different kinds of bells. And that's also something I hadn't thought about until really recently and I think this is another question you had, but what was your first interaction with composers? It was through handbells, but I just never thought about that because it's super niche, but I love it.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Micromaker by Loose Leaf Transmissions. We hope you enjoyed this brief glimpse into the inner workings of the creative life. If this resonated with you, be sure to check out the full conversation on Music Maker with Tyler Kline, a podcast exploring craft and process, philosophy and inspiration, and the honest, often messy parts of being an artist, creative uncertainty, purpose and identity, and resilience. You can find Music Maker wherever you get your podcasts or by visiting musicmakerpodcast.com.